Joining us live from Jerusalem is Alex Strayman. He's CEO and Jerusalem Bureau Chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. Thank you very much, Alex, for joining us on the broadcast. My first question to you is, what is the ground situation right now in Israel?
Well, many Israeli towns continue to get bombarded here in Jerusalem. Within the last hour, we had to go into bomb shelters. But Jerusalem not getting hit as hard as cities like Tel Aviv and cities in the north like Haifa, which are also receiving fire not only from Iran, but also from Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Well, Alex, in terms of the IDF operations, now we're well into the third week of the war. Is there any rethink of strategy, given the fact that now we're well into the third week and this war seems to be prolonging into a wider conflict?
Well, certainly Iran is set up for this scenario where the United States and Iran would potentially bomb them. That's why most of their nuclear facilities and ballistic missile facilities were stored underground, under mountains, making them difficult to reach from the air and also difficult to know about. Israel has said that this campaign could last at least another 3 weeks right now. Home Front Command making preparations to keep Israelis out of school, potentially through the Passover holiday, which is in about 2 weeks from now. But it looks like Israel is continuing to hit targets, both of the military means and also of the regime targets with tremendous force.
Well, Alex, the Strait of Hormuz is now the new epicenter of the war, but US President Donald Trump has called on a coalition for the Strait, which so far has not been met with a very positive response from the American allies. Can this be seen as a setback for America and Israel?
Well, the United States and Israel are the number 1 and 2 air forces in the world right now, and the United States is the number 1 Navy in the world, and they have significant amounts of their naval resources already in the Middle East. It could be that asking other countries to join in could only widen the conflict. It seems as though you have 2 very, very capable militaries that have all the means at their disposal to open up the Straits of Hormuz if they choose to do so, and obviously that's a priority, particularly for U.S. President Donald Trump.
Well, Alex, you mentioned that the U.S. and Israel has a very strong air force, one of the best in the world, you mentioned. But it has to be said that Iran has remained resolute so far. In terms of the American and Israeli objectives of the war, now that we are in the third week, are the U.S. and Israel still on the same page when it comes to the objectives that this war will get for both those countries?
Yeah, both the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Israel have said in recent days that the relationship remains as strong as ever, that there is coordination, daily coordination, not only on this conflict, but even on the future of the region for future generations. It seems as though the two militaries and administrations are working as closely as ever together.
Well, Alex, the Gulf countries continue to be attacked by Iran and they are intercepting drones and missiles. But in terms of Israel's relations with these countries like UAE, how big of an impact will it have on Israel's relations with the Gulf, given the kind of attacks those countries have faced in the last 3 weeks?
Well, surprisingly, many of the Gulf countries are signaling their approval with the United States and the Israeli attacks, and many analysts here are suggesting that Israel's attack on Iran could bring these nations closer together with Israel. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, they've already normalized relations with Israel, specifically because Israel was willing to confront Iranian aggression in the region. And there is a strong belief here that in the aftermath of this war, that you could see many more countries joining into normalization agreements and seeing the relationships between the Emirates, Bahrain, and Israel actually expand as a result of the conflict.
Well, Alex, my final question to you. At this stage, what, in your opinion, are the conditions under which there can be a potential end to the conflict, and is there any room for diplomacy right now?
It doesn't seem as though diplomacy is in the cards. The United States and Israel have gone all in on their attacks against Iran. I think Israel and the United States are both waiting to see if and how Iran runs out either of weapons and weapons launchers, which are a bottleneck in their process. Should Iran stop being able to fire missiles, and even though they are firing, they're firing much, much less than what the original analysis was that they could have fired. If that restricts further and Iran is not able to fire, then I think you're going to see potentially the terms that you would need for an Iranian call to end the war.
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining us on the broadcast and giving your valuable insights. We'll, of course, continue tracking the developments in West Asia. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for having me.